gave a speech at the Republican Jewish Coalition touting himself as Israel's best friend, the greatest friend Israel has had from a president. And of course, this is causing a lot of backlash from the Groypers and honestly just anybody who puts America first and realizes that maybe Israel's not the best friend to America. So let's go through this speech and take it one at a time and really understand and dissect what's going on here, because it reflects a much deeper and more sinister issue between the relationship of Israel and the United States. Take a listen to this.
Hello to everyone at the Republican Jewish Coalition, and congratulations on 40 amazing years. I want to thank your national chairman, former Senator Norm Coleman, along with your CEO, Matt Brooks, and my friend Miriam Adelson, and so many other incredible supporters, distinguished guests out in beautiful Las Vegas. 4 days from now, we will celebrate the one-year anniversary of the most important election victory in the history of our country. With the help of
First off, I just got to stop right there, and sorry I kept moving it around. He mentions Miriam Adelson. If you guys don't know, Miriam Adelson is the Israeli-American who bankrolled Trump's campaign $100 million. Haaretz, the Israeli newspaper, actually put out an article after she donated that $100 million, stating that part of the reason is the hopes that Trump will allow Israel to annex the West Bank. For Trump's credit, he did say he's not allowing Israel to do that, but Israel's building settlements at a pace never seen before. So does that really matter? Anyways, that's just a bit about who Miriam Adelson is, but let's keep listening to this speech here.
Many of you, we won all 7 swing states by millions of votes. We won the Electoral College 312 to 226. We won the popular vote for the first time of any Republican in decades, and we won 86% of the counties in America, 2,700 to 525. And very importantly, the RJC helped ensure that we won the highest percentage of Jewish vote of any Republican since 1988. I can't imagine we didn't do better than that after all I've done for the Jewish vote, I must be honest with you, but that's okay. 1988's not that bad. 1 year ago, we were a dead country. Now we're the hottest country anywhere in the world by far. Wages for workers have risen at the fastest rate in 60 years, and more than $18 trillion are pouring into the United States.
So I gotta stop there again. He talks about the Jewish vote. Of course, that he had a high percentage of Jewish voters in comparison to previous Republican presidents. The thing is, the Jewish voters, majority in general, tend to vote very left-wing and tend to vote Democrat. However, what is important is that regardless, Jewish Zionist billionaires tend to back either politician who votes and who supports Israel the most, regardless of their political affiliation. We know that Larry Ellison, the man who's currently purchasing TikTok, his son David Ellison just recently bought Paramount. We know the Ellisons actually vet U.S. politicians based on their loyalty to Israel. He did that with Marco Rubio, actually. So regardless, this is kind of the environment that Trump's putting himself in, whether or not he wants the majority Jewish vote, the standard Jewish American vote. What he's really asking for is the Jewish Zionist billionaire vote here in the United States. So let's keep going now.
States from all over the world. We have fully secured our southern border, and we have ended 8 wars in 9 months. That's pretty good. 8 wars in 9 months. We have 1 to go, as you know, Russia, Ukraine. That includes the historic peace deal that ended the war in Gaza. After 2 harrowing years of darkness, our 20 courageous hostages were returned to the loving embrace of their families. And you have to remember, we also got many of the other hostages out long before that. Many hostages were gotten out by us. Israel has never had a better friend than President Donald J. Trump. In my first term, I terminated the disastrous Iran nuclear deal. With Operation Midnight Hammer last June, we totally obliterated Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity. And we didn't even get them by surprise. They expected it, and they got obliterated. After years of broken promises by many other American presidents, I kept my promise.
Okay, let's just stop right there, and we'll go back to it. So first off, This is when I hear a president, and I mean this so seriously. If a president says that they are the best friend to Israel, immediate red flag, red alarms everywhere. That is not a good sign. Do you know why I think that's not a good sign? Do you know who was the last president that really touted himself more than any other president about how great of an ally and how great of a friend they are to Israel? Well, it's this president, probably the worst, most evil president in the history of America. It's Lyndon B. Johnson, obviously previously vice president to John F. Kennedy, who was assassinated. This president is known, and Israelis themselves, Israeli newspaper will say, Lyndon B. Johnson, Israel had no better friend. Okay, so when I hear Donald Trump talk about how Israel, he is there is no better president that's a friend to Israel than himself. To me, it seems like, okay, you're basically saying you're the most bought out president to a foreign nation ever, because the last president to say that was arguably, not even arguably, was the worst president in the history of America. It was Lyndon B. Johnson. So I just see that incredibly, honestly, it's just disgusting hearing a president say that and brag about it as if it's a good thing. Let's remember actually as well that when Lyndon B. Johnson became president after John F. Kennedy was assassinated, he told Israeli officials, he told them, you have lost a very great friend, but you have found a better one. That's coming from Lyndon B. Johnson. And, not to bring up John F. Kennedy a millionth time, which I tend to do, but immediately after Lyndon B. Johnson became president, he reversed basically every single policy that John F. Kennedy had towards Israel, because, as we know, Israel hated John F. Kennedy. John F. Kennedy was the most hated president by Israel. He tried to stop them from developing nuclear weapons. He tried to register the Israel lobby under FARA. He tried to allow all Palestinians to return back to their homes that were evicted in 1947 and were forced out. So Israel had the worst relationships in history of America with John F. Kennedy, and Lyndon B. Johnson took office. The Mossad then says at the funeral of one of the CIA agents that John F. Kennedy's administration was the most difficult period in their relations. Anyways, back to this. So now we have, of course, a president subservient to Israel like Donald J. Trump. Let's keep listening to the speech that he gave.
Hello to everyone. We totally an embassy to Jerusalem. I also recognized and moved the American embassy to Jerusalem.
Okay, so this part right here, he moved the American embassy to Jerusalem. When he talks about that, he did this back in 2018. And if anybody remembers back in 2018 why he did this, Sheldon Adelson was still alive in 2018. And when Donald Trump moved the embassy, he did it because Sheldon Adelson gave him $20 million and bankrolled his campaign. Miriam Adelson gave him $100 million this election cycle. And previously, Sheldon Adelson, before he passed, gave Donald Trump $20 million, basically on the stipulation that Donald Trump would move the embassy. And he actually, after the embassy was moved, Sheldon Adelson paid for a front cover, I believe it was on the New York Times, that said, Donald Trump, you promised, you delivered. And I'm going to pull up that headline, that front page cover right now, because it's probably the most, like, nothing says I am subservient to a foreign nation more than this cover. Here it is. I found it. Honestly, the more I look at this cover, the more I'm like, this is honestly just absolutely disgusting. Way to say that you're just completely bought out. All right, you guys should be able to see it right now here. There it is. President Trump, you promised, you delivered. This was on the front page of the New York Times after Donald Trump moved the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem back in 2018. And if I scroll down here a bit, it says, thank you for courageously recognizing Jerusalem as Israel's eternal capital. Over 3,000 years, King David established Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, yada, 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 yada. Time after time, this is the bolded text now, President Trump has sent an unambiguous message to the world. The bond between the U.S. and Israel is strong, and after 8 years of the Obama administration, the days of daylight between our nations are over. As if President Obama wasn't bought out by Israel as well. Doesn't matter. So this is kind of the president that we have, Donald Trump. to Israel, which is basically being subservient to a nation the size of really my pinky. Okay. So he goes on now. Let's keep listening to this speech the things he has to say now.
Hello to everyone at the Republic. We're also defending our Jewish citizens here in America. Just as I promised, we're deporting the foreign jihadist sympathizers and Hamas supporters from our country, and it's happening very quickly. Upon taking office, I signed a historic executive order directing every department and agency in the federal government to do everything in their power to end the scourge of anti-Semitism in America. My administration has filed historic civil rights lawsuits and cut off funding to colleges and universities that refuse to defend their Jewish students from vile acts of anti-Semitism. And we have secured some of the largest discrimination settlements in modern times. There's been nothing like it.
Okay, so let's just stop right there. This is the thing, okay, because there are a lot of Jewish people that do not support Israel. Okay, and those Jewish people have come forward and said themselves that criticism of Israel is not anti-Semitic. Everybody knows that. But the Trump administration, they set up a task force to combat anti-Semitism. And genuinely, personal belief here, I think that putting that task force in place actually skyrocketed real cases of anti-Semitism because you're feeding into every damn stereotype. People say, the stereotypes are that they control everything, and then you have a president that comes in and says we're going to shut down all criticism of Israel, and we're going to make sure that we stop every single person that criticizes Israel and that tries to support Palestine. You're feeding into the stereotypes that one specific group of people control everything. So this task force to combat anti-Semitism, I truly believe from the bottom of my heart that it probably exacerbated real cases of prejudice against a certain group of people. It's to the point now where it's hilarious. President Trump came out after Zohran Mamdani was elected and said, whatever Jewish voters vote for Zohran Mamdani are stupid. Regardless of your views on Zohran Mamdani, he's basically telling a group of people that I assume none of you guys are anti-Zionist and you should all support Israel, so it just doesn't make sense you'd vote this way. And then after Zohran Mamdani's elections, it was discovered 30% of Jewish voters voted for Zohran. So this is kind of a reoccurring theme here where Republican presidents, especially Donald Trump, believe the more subservient he is to Israel, the more he'll receive and get approval of the Jewish vote, which may work to an extent, but at the end of the day, they tend to be very liberal voters regardless.
In just 9 months, we have done more to protect Jewish Americans than any administration in history by far, and we're just getting started. We are going to continue to help. Together, we will make America stronger, safer, richer, prouder, and greater than ever before. I want to thank you once again to everyone at the Republican Jewish Coalition. God bless America. I'm with you all the way.
There we go. He just loves being subservient to Israel. So let's just go ahead and read some of the social media comments on X about this because he definitely got some backlash here. Let me just change the screen. Trump reaffirms Israel support in RJC speech, sparks MAGA backlash on X as usual. So let's just see what everybody's saying because it's just, dude, I can't. It's reaching a point where this is just ridiculous, honestly. Why Republicans are getting crushed and will get crushed in the midterms because of his subservience to Israel. Again, Trump has never had a better friend than President Donald J. Trump. Israel has never had a better friend, of course, aside from Lyndon B. Johnson. I'm going to actually bookmark that to tweet that later. Justin, Trump shares his speech at the Jewish Coalition. Israel has never had a better friend. He keeps going on here. He is so good at blowing a massive lead because he still thinks that people actually want to support Israel, even among his own base. When you look at Republican voters that are under the age of 30 and you're seeing it's simply not the case. So Republicans will not be winning another election under this disgusting fraud. Remember all those fake headlines about Trump being fed up with Netanyahu? Oh my gosh. You should go live there and let someone who actually puts American interests first, you big phony. So if you don't know what's going on here, This looks very similar. What they're doing is they're recreating the White House to look like that house that was found on Epstein's Island, is what you see here. And then, of course, it has the colors of the Israel flag as well. Another president sold out to Israel, doing tricks on it and forgetting to zip it up when he's done. Oh wow, well that's pretty vivid. Um, do you feel like Trump prioritizes America? More APAC approved Israel glazing for the Goy in chief. Yes, we do, and that's yes, we know, and that's not what we voted for. Um, oh my God, just why? And that, sir, is precisely why Gen Z approval went down from a record high in January to lower than it's ever been. This is exactly why, because the more politicians continue to be subservient to Israel, Gen Z, I think Gen Z, more than any other generation, they seem to value a sense of authenticity. You can see that even in the way they like their social media. They prefer TikTok over something like Instagram because posting a TikTok from your car when you're not looking too hot and you're just doing it from your phone and you're not worried about the good lighting and everything, it just feels more authentic. This typically is how they like to enjoy their media. Okay. And when it comes to politicians, more than anything else, they just want to feel like a politician is being straight up with them. And I think not just Gen Z, but most people in general want honesty and they want authenticity. Okay. So when you could tell somebody is just spewing BS out of their mouth, pretending they give a damn about American interests, when the reality is they're being paid for by a foreign nation, you become nauseous from it. And that's what we're seeing here. And the more that they do this sort of stuff, the more they're going to be turning off voters that otherwise would have supported them. This is the thing. Israel is I see Israel, Israel, the neocons, it's all kind of one part large political dynasty in a way, and it all works together. Israel, the neocons, this sort of foreign policy agenda, and what's happening is it's crumbling away and it's starting to fall. And the people in power now, these neocon Zionists, are trying to hold on to something that is simply falling apart, and they're not going to be able to stop it. And they think that the more they support Israel, the more things will just eventually work out for them. It simply won't. And I don't know how they haven't clicked the two together yet. Maybe they do, and they just they're being willfully ignorant to it. Who knows? That's the entire problem. Jeff Carlson says that in regards to Trump saying Israel has never had a better friend. Dude will never stop. He just straight up works for Israel. He doesn't give a shit about this nation. The timing is incredible. He's rubbing our faces in it. LOL, I'm out, boys. It's absolutely unreal how much President Trump cares about Israel more so than actual American citizens who are suffering and cannot even pay for their damn groceries or their car or their homes. Our country is falling apart, and Trump nor our government give a AF at all. In fact, they're actually facilitating our downfall. Pretty strong words here. F it, Trump, F Israel. So I think Trump really needs to read the effing room. I think you guys get the general gist of this. People are really fed up. When I look at Trump now, I'm starting just to see this guy, and it's starting to really make me nauseous because all I see when I look at this guy is an evil bought out sort of figure that really represents the downfall of somebody previously who was an amazing president, JFK. So when I see Trump and I see somebody and he says he's Israel's best friend, I literally just see Trump and I see Lyndon B. Johnson's face now. And I think that's the most sad thing to say, because I think Trump came in 2018 as president because of the fact he ran his entire campaign on draining the swamp and wanting to get all of these people out of politics that don't represent the interests of America. And he garnered a lot of support because of that. And very quickly, over the course of his political career, he became the exact swamp that he said he wanted to drain out. So that's ultimately how it works. There are very few politicians that actually do things honestly, and the ones that are currently doing that are being targeted, like Thomas Massey. And surprisingly, Marjorie Taylor Greene has been amazing. Who else? Thomas Massey, Marjorie Taylor Greene. I think there's somebody named Aaron Baker, and he's actually trying to replace Randy Fine in Florida. I think he's currently running, hoping to primary him. We'll see if that actually ends up working out. I hope so. But anyways, that's it for this video, guys. If you guys like this video, I'd really appreciate the support. Sending in some super chats and gifts helps me be able to make more of this for you guys. And if you aren't a member, please go ahead and subscribe. I'll be making some member-only videos soon. Otherwise, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.